Here's something that shouldn't be true. A hunter-gatherer, 20,000 years ago, worked fewer hours than you did this week. Not close to the same. Less. In some cases, half. And they weren't scraping by, half-starved, or dying at 30. They had time to paint on cave walls. Time to sit by a fire and talk for hours about nothing important. Time to just exist, without a task attached to it. So here's the question. If the human brain was built for a workday closer to 3 or 4 hours, with people around you almost constantly, what happens when you take that same brain and lock it in a 9-hour, fluorescent-lit box, 5 days a week, for 40 years? Your brain doesn't know the difference between a modern job and danger. It just knows the mismatch. Long hours. No real ending. Almost no one around you. And it responds the only way it knows how. It starts shutting down. That's burnout. Not weakness. Not laziness. A brain doing exactly what it was built to do, in a world it was never built for. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 3 things to take back from that old life, starting today. For most of the last century, we told ourselves prehistoric life was miserable. A desperate scramble to survive. Nasty, brutish, and short. It's a great story. It's also mostly false. In the 1960s, anthropologist Marshall Solon studied hunter-gatherer groups still living the traditional way, like the Jew/Hoansi of the Kalahari, and measured how much they actually worked. Hunting. Gathering. Preparing food. Everything combined. 15 to 20 hours a week. Now add up your own week. The commute. The meetings. The emails you answer in bed before you fall asleep. You're not just working more than they did. You're working more than double. Solon's had a name for this. The original Affluent Society. Not rich in stuff. Rich in something we've almost run out of. Time. A sewing needle, carved from bone, with an eye narrower than the one on your kitchen table, made tens of thousands of years before metal tools even existed. That's not an accident. That's what happens when a brain has 20 extra hours a week, and nothing urgent to spend them on. Take the cave paintings at Lascaux in France. They're around 17,000 years old. These aren't crude scribbles. They're layered. Shaded. They even use the natural curve of the rock to make horses look like they're moving. That's not a 5-minute doodle. That's days of focused work from someone who wasn't worried about where dinner was coming from. Free time wasn't the leftover. It was the fuel. Here's something worth sitting with. Hunter-gatherers spent most of their waking, non-working hours within arm's reach of other people. Not adjacent to them. Not connected through a group chat. Right next to them. They gathered around fires. They had long conversations with no agenda and no clock running. They told stories. Taught children. Worked through arguments face to face. Sometimes they simply sat together. 4 hours. Every single day. Now think about your own week. When was the last time you spent time with a close friend, in person, with nothing else going on? For a lot of people, it's not every week. It's barely every month. Loneliness has become so widespread that some countries have even created government positions to deal with it. Your ancestors never had that problem. Deep, constant social contact wasn't a bonus feature of their lives. It was the operating system. We didn't just lose free time somewhere along the way. We lost the entire reason that free time existed. Farming didn't make life easier. It made it harder. So why did we ever leave the lifestyle that seemed to work better for us? One word. Agriculture. Look at the skeletons. Early farmers were shorter, sicker, and had worse teeth than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Farming did one thing incredibly well. It created surplus food. And surplus food created more babies. But it also chained people to harvest seasons and backbreaking labor for most of the year. We didn't upgrade from a hard life to an easy one. We traded a hard life with a lot of freedom for a hard life with almost none. And in exchange, we got more people. And more stuff. Evolution was never trying to make us happy. It was only ever trying to make more of us. And that trade never got reversed. It just kept changing costumes. First farms. Then factories. Then office towers. Then a laptop that climbs into bed with you. Here's the timeline that should worry you a little. Evolution works over tens of thousands of years. The modern office is only about 150 years old. The phone in your pocket is younger than many of the people watching this video. Your nervous system was tuned for a different life. Long, open stretches of unscheduled time. Real physical movement. Constant, close contact with other people. And a clear finish line. Nightfall. A completed hunt. Something that told your body the day was done. It was never tuned for 8 sedentary hours under fluorescent lights. Or a notification every 4 minutes. Or a day that never seems to end. There's a term for this. Evolutionary mismatch. It's what happens when your environment changes faster than your biology can keep up. And it doesn't stay abstract. It shows up as elevated cortisol, broken sleep, and a specific kind of exhaustion that a weekend can't fix. Because the weekend is still happening inside the same mismatch. The problem was never that you don't rest enough. It's that almost nothing about your day matches the brain you're running it on. You can't quit your job and move to the Kalahari. But you can take back the things that actually made that lifestyle work. First, protect unstructured time. Not just downtime. Scrolling isn't the kind of rest your brain is asking for. Time with no agenda, ideally with other people, or with your hands creating or fixing something, is much closer to what your brain evolved to need. Second, build yourself a real stopping point. Your ancestors had nightfall. You need something just as non-negotiable. A hard log-off time. A phone that physically leaves the room. Without a clear ending, your brain never gets the signal that the day is actually over. Third, treat time with people as maintenance. Not as a reward you earn after work is finished. Real, present, no agenda time with other human beings isn't a luxury. It's structural. Remove it, and things start to crack. To be clear, prehistoric life wasn't paradise. People lived shorter lives. And in many ways, it was far more dangerous. It's easy to romanticize from the comfort of an office chair. But the idea that we're wired for long hours, constant isolation, and non-stop stimulation was never true to begin with. It's a story we told ourselves to make farming, then factories, then knowledge work, feel normal. Repeated so often that it started to sound like biology. Your ancestors worked less than you. Rested more than you. And spent more time surrounded by people than you probably ever will. That wasn't a design flaw. That was the design. So the next time you're running on empty at 4 in the afternoon, wondering what's wrong with you, maybe nothing is. You're just running a body built for something else entirely. The real question isn't how to become more resilient to a broken schedule. It's whether you can carve out one fire tonight. 1 hour. One face. No phone. No agenda. And hand it back to the person your body was built to be. The past isn't gone. It's still shaping every decision your brain makes today. If that's the kind of mystery you enjoy exploring, subscribe, and join me for the next one.